Secret of Mana. Basically, if you haven't been born in the 90s, you would never have known about this game, and what a true masterpiece it is. It originally was a game for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and back when I was a child, I was playing this game constantly because it was just so much fun to play this. There has been a remake released a few days ago, and I should I've been playing this remake for a few days now. That's why it took me a little while to put a new video out there. I'm making this video as a sort of review because I'm holding this game dear to my heart, and I wanted to know if this remake is any good. So I've been playing it for the past few days now. What you're basically seeing on screen is my gameplay right now. So what is this game anyways? This game is basically a fantasy action role-playing game with real-time combat. There's no turn-based combat like it was really common these days. Back in the 90s, I mean. This game was basically the foundation on what a lot of role-playing games these days are based on. Many things action RPGs today have weren't really that common back then. And today they just seem like a thing games need to have in order to be good, to be actually playable at all. So what exactly is this game about? What is the story about in this game? Basically, you play as Randy. That's his default name, this character you see on screen right now. And the game starts basically when you're out with some friends looking for a treasure. You walk over a log, going across a waterfall, and Randy falls down and lands at the bottom of the waterfall. There he finds a sword, and basically from there on, you know, this typical JRPG story thing. You take the sword, monsters appear. Yeah, that stuff. It sounds like the typical JRPG kind of thing. Well, action JRPG kind of thing. You're returning to your village, monster attacks the village, you defeat the monster, and then you're banished from the village. And while being on the topic of monsters, the boss fights in this game are the most memorable ones because there are so many and so many different type of boss monsters. Of course, some boss monsters, because of system limitations back then, were basically retextures, recolors of previous monsters, but they were stronger. Of course, as typical for these kind of games, you're not the only character that is in your party. In the scene where Randy got kidnapped by a few goblins and put into a pot to, well, eat him, you're introduced to the next character, a girl named Prim. Prim grew up in a palace, and therefore she's a bit of a bitch at the beginning. She has her own little story in where she is looking for her lover, named Dialogue, who has disappeared after a mission where Dialogue was supposed to attack a witch's castle. The next character, no, is not Dialogue, but another character which is made genderless in the remake, and there has been actually a lot of debate about the actual gender of this character. The name of this character is Popoi. Popoi is first introduced in the town of the dwarves deep under the ground. Popoi is a sprite child, a being that relies on the existence of magical energy called mana, the stuff the game is about. Immediately after you go to a show where Popoi is introduced, the town gets attacked by a monster. After you've defeated the monster, Popoi will join your party. After that, your party sets out to find Dialogue, find the palaces that contain mana seeds, and stop the Empire from resurrecting a flying fortress that uses mana as a weapon that could possibly destroy the world. But all this is better explained if you actually play the game yourself. Also, I don't want to spoil too much for those that never played this game and might be interested in playing the remake. So what can I say about this remake doing better than the original game? Well, first off, menus seem to be a lot faster and snappier than in the original. And because of that, menus are also no longer inverted. So meaning in the original game, if you were actually pressing left, the menu would go to the item to the right, which was really odd back then. There's been new dialogues introduced between the characters if you go to inns, and they're really funny at times, and Popeye is just a little annoying little brat sometimes. The voice acting is, on one hand, good, on the other hand, not so great, but it's still nice to have. But in cutscenes, the mouths do not move, which is kind of odd. I'm not sure about why they did that. If it's a stylistic choice, it's something I do not understand why they did it. But I digress. Let's go back to what the remake actually does pretty good. As mentioned earlier with the fixed menus, there's also something new introduced basically for quick casting spells. This basically saves you the time of going into the menus, searching for the correct spell you want to find, and then casting it. Spells also still use the on-screen system, but if there's a new enemy coming into your screen and you chose all enemies, it will also target that new enemy. Oh, another thing I have forgotten to mention is that there is no longer an invisible rope attached between the characters, which means it's really useful if you want to go through an area. You have to go through a few times. You don't want to get stuck because your AI companions just get stuck somewhere on the terrain. So basically what it means is you can move freely around any given level. Then there's a few other smaller things I've noticed, like for example that chests appear now during the death animation of enemies, and that MP is also refilled after a level up. Though I'm not 100% sure if that was not the case in the original game. I'm pretty sure MP did not refill after a level up. Now, of course, I cannot talk about the good things without talking the bad things as well. And we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which are the graphics. For a game that came out this year, 2018, it looks more like a game that would come out on a 3DS or let's say PSP, something like that. While it is not a problem for me personally, I still like it that they actually went out the way and recreated the entire game to be 3D instead of 2D. I still think it would have been nicer to have a little bit nicer graphics than this. But also these graphics have their own charm, I think. Other issues I have are the boss fights music just being super annoying. I mean, I get used to it now that I've heard it a couple of times, but still, it's way more annoying than the original game. And I've heard from other people they find that original song annoying as well. And while on the topic of boss fights, they also seem a lot of easier. I'm not sure what caused it because I think that the health and what the enemies do are all the same. But what I'm thinking is because the new menu system, it's basically that you are spending less time in those, therefore that the boss fights seem a lot shorter. It seems like the PC version was a little bit neglected, because from all the gameplay I've shown you here in this video, you could also see hints for controls that are more related to consoles. And since I'm playing on PC, this is a bit confusing because I don't know which button to press then. In some cases you cannot even rebind the keys. For example, when I'm flying with Flammy, it took me ages to find out how to ascend and descend with Flammy. And while on the topic of Flammy, I'm not sure the whole flying thing does not really feel like in the original. It feels slower, and the perspective is just not right because in the original it was more like Flemmy was on top of the screen, while you see the ground on the bottom of the screen, and it just does not feel like this. It is more like, yeah, you are like looking from it from an angle at Flammy in the middle. It just feels weird, does not feel right. And the last thing I really have a complaint about is that the game sometimes crashes. I know this can still possibly be fixed with an update if the developers would actually bother to fix this. I hope they bother to fix this, because it's Sacred Mana and it should not crash. Now, what else can I say about the game? There's not much more I can say except for saying that I like seeing this game being reimagined in 3D. It is a game, like I said in the beginning, that has been a part of my childhood, and it's pretty great to see it finally getting some attention again. So, would I recommend you to buy and play this game? Yes, but not for the current price range of $40 or whatever it is right now. I would totally recommend this game if it's on a sale for like the price range of $20 to $30. But for that you get a good game that has a good story and great gameplay and memorable characters. I just love Pop Boy. Oh, and I totally forgot, you can actually play this together with friends. so your friends can play as Prim or Boy. So all I want to say now is thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it showed you a little bit of insight of why I love this game so much and why I think the remake is an okay remake. It's not an absolutely masterful remake, but it's a good remake. So again, thanks for watching and I hope you enjoyed this video and I see you in the next one.